My video on the ending of Attack on Titan has gotten tons of support, so I wanted to take the time to go over some of the comments that I received on that video, and give my response to hopefully make my opinions more clear. Before we get in too deep, I want to remind everyone that this is my interpretation of the story. I could be wrong, or maybe we all are. Isayama left the ending of the manga open for interpretation, so in a way, we're all right. Manga spoilers. Let's get into the first comment. This is from Maniacal Mudkip. I think one of the meanings of the story is spelled out pretty well by Armin during his chat with Zeke. Enjoy the little moments in life. Sure, life can be cruel and damn near unbearable, but look for the light in the darkness. If AOT ended with this ambiguous, Eren probably destroyed the world end, I don't think the series would have stuck with me as much as it did. The ending is extremely flawed, but that doesn't mean it's not worth experiencing. I responded to this comment on my original video, but I wanted to say it here too. My proposed ending of stopping at 87 is not meant to be an end-all be-all. If someone did watch the way I proposed, I would hope that they would re-watch the show to pick up a lot of the minor details that add heavily to the story, and then continue on to the canon ending. Of course, I hope Mappa's rendition of the ending comes off as a little more fleshed out and clears some things up, and generally just takes more time with it, making the experience of the show all around better than switching to the manga at the end like I did. This comment also points out one of the parts I ended up not covering in my video, and that was Armin's conversation with Zeke. After Armin is captured by the Pig Titan, he ends up in the paths with Zeke. Zeke says, "So, Ymir ate you too." This is one of those strange points in the plot that I'm still not sure about, but I'll continue through the conversation and give you my interpretation at the end. As Zeke begins talking, he is talking with the wisdom of someone who has been alone with his thoughts for potentially hundreds of years. And in all that time, he came to the very scientific conclusion to what the purpose of life is, that life's goal is to multiply, and that death runs counter to this. He says that Ymir was the first person to change that by creating a world where she doesn't die. The paths. They begin to talk about why Ymir has made this world, and why she continued to follow the orders of King Fritz, despite all of her power. The answer is that she was still attached to the world she had left behind. He states that Eren was able to understand that, and that's why Ymir chose to follow Eren. Zeke then somewhat argues with Armin about Armin's conviction to try and help his friends and save lives. Zeke lays out the cold, hard truth that one day everyone is going to die, and that their fighting is meaningless because in the grand scheme of time, their lives are but a blip. He boils down the reason people need to fight is because they are manipulated by the need to multiply without ever knowing why they must multiply. The manga shows the faces of the Alliance fighting to try to stop Eren. Armin then spies a leaf in the sand in front of him. Armin remembers and then openly reminisces on the day that Eren, Mikasa, and him ran up on a hill on a beautiful day. Maybe the reason I was born was so that the three of us could run this race on this day. He states the times he had the same thought throughout his life, saying that they are precious, that the little moments in life are what brings meaning into someone's life. A great lesson to learn, and one that should be heavily considered in our own lives. Zeke and Armin are both correct, and Zeke understands this as the leaf Armin holds up is perceived by Zeke as a baseball. The idea that life can have a purpose and a goal runs counter to Zeke's idea that everyone is simply put on the earth to multiply. Zeke accepts this as he remembers himself, that life, although seems to have no purpose, that the action of him playing catch does not mean a single thing, but that he was content and happy while doing it. He wishes he could always do that, to always feel that happiness, that maybe all the pain was worth having those moments, that simply being born into this world is precious. The time we have in this world is precious. At the moment of this realization, Zeke and Armin see more faces, faces of those who were once one of the 9. They woke up everyone who was asleep in the paths. This shows the audience that when one of the 9 dies, they don't completely die, and instead go to sleep in the paths. All of this happens because it's what Ymir wants. After this, the previous Titans of the 9 regain control of their bodies on the back of Eren's founding Titan, where Zeke then reveals himself, wishing he had seen the beauty in the world before devoting himself to a life of killing. The rumbling stops once Levi kills Zeke. So the big mystery of this conversation is Ymir. What are her intentions? She purposely brought Armin into the paths and then also kept Zeke awake in the paths, and then somehow, when Armin convinced Zeke to see the world in a better light, The former 9 were awakened, but not all of the former 9. It was only the people that Zeke knew. We witnessed a battle that was started, fought, and then won by Ymir. So why did she want this to happen? Well, it's because she wants Mikasa to kill Eren. Another thing I'm confused about is the fact that Zeke still had some of the Founder's power, and not just Eren. But with my interpretation, Eren doesn't really have all that much power himself. He's being controlled by Ymir. So this whole battle on the top of the Founding Titan, the fact Armin had the conversation with Zeke, all happened because Ymir willed it. Do I think what Armin said to Zeke was important? Yes. Does Isayama? I don't think so. It didn't matter what Armin said to Zeke. Their futures were already written. The actions they commit, even the powers that they have, aren't really theirs. I feel like this is a beautiful moment and a beautiful message to have in a dark story like this, but the ending as a whole does not respect it. Armin shouldn't have been putting his effort into convincing Zeke. He should have been preaching to Ymir, the only person in the world of AOT with any power to enact real change. She uses her power selfishly to work through the traumatic life she had. Attack on Titan started with Eren waking up from a dream, but in reality, with the power Ymir has, the whole world is her dream. Set up exactly as she wants to prove to herself that she could detach herself from her feelings of love towards someone who is evil. She made everything. She made Eren a monster. She made Mikasa love him. And then she let the one and only choice be made in the series. The one time I believe anyone in AOT has had the free will to choose, and that was Mikasa's decision to kill Eren. That is the ending. That is the most important thing. That is the conclusion of all of these events. Although you can find the good in the ending, you can't take the ending out of the good parts. What I laid out, in my opinion, is something that you could go without experiencing. But if you have another way of looking at the story, if you took something else away with these last pages, then go and run with it. Enjoy it, please. Because the way I see how everything was all planned out by Ymir, it starts to ruin the whole story. I start to question things I loved and how maybe even then, no one had any choices. You can apply this to lots in the story. Like how Zeke was somehow able to survive after getting blown up. Well, it's simple. They even show it to you. Ymir brings him back. Ymir heals his broken body. Why? Because she needed Eren to get the Founder's power, and Armin needed to talk with Zeke, so it could set the stage for Mikasa. Why did Levi pick Armin over Erwin? Was it because he saw it time for his commander to rest? Or was it because Ymir needed to have things work out this way? It starts to strip away the meaning in the show. Everyone's actions were meaningless, or at least the meaning that they had was only to help Ymir. I think I nailed it on the head when I compared Ymir to having a dream. It might as well all be in her head. So because of all that, I suggest people stop the show at episode 87. Okay, so that was the first comment out of the way. I think the rest of my answers will be a bit shorter. The next comment is from Bill M. I've always thought that the whole entire point of the story was to show the struggle between humanity, the love, respect, and camaraderie people have for each other, and biology, the need to ensure the survival of one's kind so that they can give rise to future generations. Eren is the physical representation of this struggle, as he, as a person, has immense love for his friends, like what he expresses during the train scene, but is also somewhat controlled by the Attack Titan, the Titan whose whole purpose is to continue pushing forward to secure the survival of the Eldian race. In the end, Eren chooses his humanity, and in turn, his friends. Feel free to read the rest of Bill M's comment, but my answer to this is simply a difference in our interpretations. You see the end of the story like Eren was the one making the choices, that the only way to save his friends and the world was to end the Titan curse. The only way he could end the Titan curse was by drawing the parallel between him and King Fritz and having Mikasa kill him. But I argue that Eren was not in control, because if he was, he would have tried to make a better world where he could live with his friends and live out as much of his life as he could. He proved this in chapter 138, where he made an alternate reality with Mikasa. He wants his friends to live long, happy lives, but instead, he left things in shambles, killing Sasha and then leaving the rest of his friends as fugitives forced to kill their comrades because of the Jaegerist, the governing body that Eren set up. This is all leading to what I believe is the killer for most hopeful manga interpretations. It's the last few pages. Back before the pages came out, I think I would have accepted the ending. The only way to save the world by ending the Titan curse was to do what Eren had to do. Basically, the Code Geass ending that people would bring up. He became the evil to kill the true evil and leave things better after his death. But that's exactly why those last pages suck. Why they ruin even a hopeful ending. We see the same tree that Ymir gained her power from sprout from the tree where Eren's head was buried. And we even see someone walking towards it. This ending panel itself can have different interpretations. Maybe it's someone good who will make the world better, but we do all know the saying about absolute power and its ability to corrupt. Eren sacrificed himself to make it so his friends could live out their lives. He also did it to end the Titan curse, but he failed. And if he could have seen that far in the future, then he would have done something else. He wanted to save the world and save his friends. That was not possible. He had to choose, and both was not an option. Something had to cave, and what did was both. But if this was all the case, then why isn't that what Eren talked about with Armin when they were in the paths? Instead, it was just a confusing mess that didn't clear up any motivation. We are left to put the pieces together ourselves. Basically, this is the long way of me saying, the ending just doesn't make sense if Eren has free will. So he must not have free will. That is basically my entire 20-minute video in the first place boiled down into a sentence. And on to the next comment. This one is from Cam Girl. Great. Attack on Titan teaches a valuable lesson. Nothing you do matters because people will hate you no matter what. Violence is inevitable. In the end, we're all simps. Some mysteries should remain unsolved. And most importantly, trying to please everybody will please nobody. When I first read this comment, I immediately wanted to completely disagree. When I read it over again and took the cynicism out of it, it goes something like this. No matter what you do, some people will always hate you. Violence is a part of nature and should be anticipated. In the end, all we wish for are the ones we cared for the most. Some mysteries should remain unsolved, for their answers can be disappointing. And most importantly, trying to please everybody will please nobody. And I can say that sentence I agree with. The next comment is by or AA, I'm not sure. Loved the continuous minute-and-a-half clip of Eren beating the shit out of Armin. That was definitely my favorite part of the video I made as well. I actually go back to that episode of Attack on Titan a lot, just to watch Armin catch those hands, because honestly, Season 4 Armin deserves them. Despite what I said in this video, if Armin had the freedom to make choices, he really should have chosen different ones. And the last comment for this video is from Sarboza. You've made some good points, but if you think Eren's character changes when he's laying on the ground whining about how he doesn't want Mikasa to move on, you've missed him bitching and crying the entire story. Eren has literally always been a crybaby. I do agree. Eren has been quite the crybaby the entire story. But there is a difference. Every time Eren is knocked down and feels that he is not enough, that he isn't important, and that he can never change the world and achieve his dream, he remembers his dream. And then he stands up and fights for it. Without fail. Every time Eren is on his hands and knees crying, shouting to the world that he hasn't changed, that he can't save the ones he cared about, he gets up, ready for a fight. From the day he was born, he was free. He was free to fight against this cruel world, just as each and every one of us are. But Isayama takes that away from him in the last chapter. He fully gives up. Eren simply accepts his defeat and allows Ymir to kill 80% of humanity and forces Mikasa to kill him. I just can't accept that. That is not Eren. Crybaby? Yes. Someone who gives up without a fight? No. And that's it. Thank you to everyone for watching this one, and thank nearly 20,000 of you for watching my first Attack on Titan video. I never thought that video would get that many views, and I wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, there's more to come. Bye-bye!